doing that, Jim. Really appreciate it. Now, Jim is a distinguished Toastmaster, and his favorite season is fall. Weather's cooling down, days are getting shorter, and the beauty of the cycle of life is before us. He believes it is a time for reflecting, which he does at his cabin in the Smoky Mountains, just outside of the Smoky Mountains National Park. Jim also believes that the English language is a powerful language, and it is unfortunately rarely used to its full effect. It is at this time every 4 years that language plays a critical role in our democratic republic, for we elect the leader of our nation. This evening, Jim will express his views on the challenges facing our country this election year. He will be speaking from the presentation mastery path and completing the level 3 assignment using descriptive language. With his speech titled Honor, Courage, and Commitment, let's welcome Jim Dawson.
Honor, courage, and commitment are the values of the United States Marine Corps. And I'm one of them. And I believe on it very strongly. And the problem we have today is I don't know too many politicians who have that built into their DNA. What we're looking for today is, can we be honest about what we're representing and what we're saying? And I'm looking at honor as one of the things that we are losing because of all of the trash that we hear, all of the lies that are spread, all of the misinformation that we have. What does it take to be honorable? Well, it's a man of your word or a woman of your word. What we have to look at is, how do we really hold people accountable? If you look at our club, we have commitments to do things within the club. If you're an honorable person, you do your commitments, or you let someone else know that you can't for a reason. In the Marine Corps, honor is everything. When you look at our representation, that we leave no one behind. I can give you the perfect example of the Chosin Reservoir. When during the Korean War, we had a bunch of Marines left on, or actually it was a bunch of Army guys left on top of a hill. What we were told was from a colonel, Jesse Puller, was to go up and relieve those to bring them down. And the lieutenant asked Jesse Puller, said, where do we draw back from? And Jesse Puller got on the phone, called the artillery. He said, you see anybody move off that mountain, you start firing. We have to protect our flanks. I'll give you a personal example of my own. When you talk about honor, I was in a job where they could not fire me for 18 months. And when I thought I was, and my staff was misused, I resigned. What you're looking for is, how do you stand up and do the right things? And the most precious thing happened to me at that time, because when I went home and I told my wife and my family what I did, my daughter ran up, threw her arms around me and said, Daddy, if we need money, you can sell my bike. That's honor. Now let's talk about courage. Courage means you're willing to go beyond. What I see in our political world today is the lack of courage from our politicians. And I believe we have to let them know that we want to see more courage. We have to stand up for what we're doing and how we're doing it. So what we're doing is looking at what we all want to do. If I can get rid of this. What we want to do is make sure that we have the courage of our convictions. When we look at things, do we have the courage to say what we should be saying? Or do we back down because we're afraid of the consequences? I think we have to have the courage to speak up. Because if we don't speak up, we're not sure exactly what's taking place. What we need to look at is, where do we want our country to be, and what do we want to teach our children? Is what we see in Washington, D.C. right now what you would teach your child at home? I don't think so. I think what we need to do is have the courage of our beliefs and not dance around it, and not support people who are actually demeaning the meaning of a democratic republic. And the last one is commitment. Commitment means that you stick it out. You make it happen. And by the way, by sticking it out, and commitment means that you finish things up. We're not finished here. Our democracy is in trouble. We have someone who is leading this country right now who has no idea what the word honor means. He has demonstrated he has no courage, and he's not committed to anyone but himself. So what this is all about is really, can you stand up and make sure that our republic stands the test of time? What I'm looking for is to hold any politician accountable. And by the way, we had more than enough of our politicians who have lied to us. And at times, they may not be able to say everything that they need to say to get something done. However, it should not be a way of life of trying to deceive the American public. Honor, courage, commitment. I want you to stand out and think about that. In Marine Corps training, what we did is we made sure that we were ready for the worst of times. I had the opportunity to do an amphibious landing, going in under fire. What you have to think about is, what do you really mean and do? I was on 17 major operations. I was wounded twice. And the second time when I was wounded, I had shrapnel in both of my legs, my hand was damaged. And rather than being helivac'd out, I stayed out with my troops that night because they needed me. Don't we hold our leaders to the same level? Chesty Puller, who was a Marine Corps icon in the Battle of Guadalcanal, was a colonel. And when the communication line got broken, he was the one that went out and fixed it, because they could lose him, they couldn't lose the people who were fighting. In Pele, when he was relieved of duty, the colonel came up and asked him, "Where's the front lines?" And he said, "Right there." That colonel moved it back 600 yards. Puller's men would follow him anywhere because he had the Marine Corps values of honor, courage, and commitment. Toastmaster.